Pam was an adventurer. Literally, everything was an adventure. I can't tell you how many years we've been friends because that would date us both. I don't particularly care, but since Pam has been 37 for as long as I've known her, I can't go telling all of her secrets now. This is a testimony of my friendship with Pam, the love I had for her, Amber's story. She had so many friends. Each of us played a vital role in her life. No one of us more important than the other, all just pieces that fit perfectly together. I can't tell you about Pam's childhood, mostly because I wasn't alive for most of it. You know I only feel safe saying that now because she isn't here. When I met Pam, I was a kid myself. Barely 18 years old, we met at work at U.S. Cellular. My first impression, who the heck likes the Florida Gators this much? What is wrong with this chick? You may even say we were unlikely friends. A Vol for life and the crazy Gator girl. But we were instantly friends. Some initial observations I had about Pam. She wasn't without several quirks. She literally took pictures of everything. She loved kids, especially her nieces. She collected things. She always smelled good. And she was giving. So giving. Pam always said I was an old soul, wise beyond my years. I certainly didn't feel that way as a 19-year-old unwed mother-to-be. Pam was my biggest cheerleader. When I was about 3 months pregnant, I very suddenly and unexpectedly lost my daddy. I wasn't sure how life would go on. He meant so much to me. But guess who was right there with me during every single stage of my grief? I will never forget the way Pam's friendship made me feel. Supported, loved. She never told me it would be okay. She let me take as long as I needed to grieve. Constantly reassuring me that my dad knew I loved him and that he loved me more than anything. It's hard to even explain how much she meant to me during that time. She would call and check on me constantly, never leaving me alone too long, but never overwhelming me. When I finally got to the point that I could talk about it, I thanked her. I promised her that I would repay the debt one day, that I would be the friend to her that she had been to me. Pam taught me that grief is just another name for love. 6 months to the day after my dad passed away, I went into labor. Pam was in the delivery room with me and helped welcome Madison into the world. She had plenty of practice loving on babies. Samantha and Michaela were literally her pride and joy. Pam wasn't even particular about the babies she loved. If you're her friend and you have kids, you know exactly what I mean. I would even bet your kids called her Aunt Pam. Pam saw me through more than she will ever know as a young mom. She was one of the only people that I ever allowed to keep Madison overnight. She loved her to the moon and back. She saw me through a young marriage, helped me welcome Dylan into the world, and oh, how she loved him. She was so excited when he was born. The young marriage went south, and Pam was there each step of the way through my divorce, always so supportive, knowing exactly what to say. When Jay and I met and decided to merge our families, she was once again my biggest cheerleader, taking in Austin and Julia and being Aunt Pam to them without limitations. She loved my family so much, probably more than I even knew. She watched my family form, watched it grow, loved us through several difficult moments, encouraging us through it all. She loved watching Dylan play baseball. Though she knew very little about the game, it often meant she asked constant questions. I'll sure miss her this baseball season. When Pam called me in the fall of 2009 and said she had some concerns for her health, I honestly didn't think too much of it. I assured her that she was okay, that whatever it was probably wasn't a big deal, but I agreed to go with her to hear the results. That was the beginning of a friendship that nothing could, would, or would even try to get in the way of. In December of 2009, we sat in a cold conference room off Middlebrook Pike, and a sweet doctor shared her cancer news with us. Holding hands and crying, I vowed this to her that day. I stepped on this battlefield with you, and I will fight with you by your side until the end. I missed one treatment in nearly 10 years. People used to say how awesome it was that I was there for her, but I think it was quite the opposite. Pam fed my soul. We made those appointments so much fun. We named each of her medications something fun. There was gin and tonic, White Russian, and we weren't alcoholics, we were just creative minds. Those treatments included more laughter than I could ever put into words. I do not remember sad treatment days. They were all filled with laughs and followed by some type of lunch date, shopping date, ice cream date. You know, I hated Pam's disease, but I so looked forward to our time together. I don't know what I will do on Wednesdays from now on. I miss her so much. Fate always seems to place people in your life at the exact moment that they're needed. God is really good like that. Let me share a story with you about God putting people in the right place at the perfect time. I love those crazy pyramid scheme home party companies. You know the ones, Pampered Chef, Party Light. So I was having a Party Light party. My sweet friend Lee had won some type of contest where the CEO was going to come to a party, and she asked if he could come to mine. I agreed. Then I learned that he's friends with Tommy Hilfiger, and he creates custom scents for Oprah, and I thought, I hope he likes boxed wine. So the day comes, and we meet Harry Slatkin, just a sweet man, and as God would have it, the only seat open was beside Pam, so that's where Harry parked himself. Throughout the night, Harry and Pam were chatting it up. Turns out he owns a home in New York City, and Pam was telling him how much New York City was her happy place, how she had missed the opportunity to ride around in Central Park in a horse and carriage, but she planned to go back to do just that. It was one of the many things on her bucket list. The party was great. He choked down my boxed wine, and as he was leaving, he called me to the side. He said he had spent some time talking with my sweet friend Pam, and that he had asked her about her bald head, and she had shared some of her cancer journey with him. Then he says to me, "You and Pam are coming to New York City, my treat, and you are going to ride through Central Park in the carriage. My assistant will call you next week to set everything up." When I shared the news with Pam, she was as overcome as I was, but she was a bit hesitant. Several people had promised things throughout the years that didn't always work out, so she didn't want to get her hopes up. But Harry kept his word, and Pam and I flew to New York City just a few weeks later. Man, Harry knows how to travel. He may have ruined all future vacations for us. We stayed at the Waldorf Astoria, each of us with our own private suite. Every time we walked out of our room and came back in, there was another gift. Chocolate-covered strawberries, champagne, cupcakes. We eventually started leaving on purpose just to see what would come next. We had a private driver, prepaid dinner reservations, and I'm not talking Taco Bell. We ate at Ralph Lauren's new restaurant. We ate at Tavern on the Green. We had tickets to a Broadway show, Aladdin, then the infamous carriage ride. We packed a lifetime of memories into that trip. It is one that I will never forget. With so much negativity in the world, Mr. Slatkin restored my faith in humanity in some small way, just knowing that a total stranger would be willing to allow Pam and I the opportunity that neither of our checkbooks would have afforded. But I knew it was because he saw in Pam what we all saw in her. He saw that she was worthy and deserving, and I will forever be grateful to him for that. Pam and I took many trips together, mountains, New York City, the beach, each as meaningful as the other. All memories that I will cherish for my entire life. Pam loved to travel. I remember the excitement about her trip to Alaska with Chuck. She literally couldn't contain herself. I know so many of you have traveled with her, or maybe you felt like you did because of the way she shared her adventures on Facebook. When Pam broke her femur back in July, I know she never got the chance to post much of that adventure on Facebook, but just like the rest, we made it fun. Madison and I camped out with her at the hospital. We even had our own bed. We laughed and laughed and laughed. I don't even know what we laughed about, but we had the absolute best time there with her. I was so grateful that she was able to recover in a rehab center near my home. It made her dinner request much easier. I mentioned earlier that Pam was quirky. Things had to match, and by things, I mean everything. Socks, shoes, pants, shirt, jacket, hat, accessories, it all had to match. Even when she wasn't feeling well, she always matched. She liked things the way she liked them, and she was not afraid to express it. God, I miss her. Every trip she took, she bought little souvenirs for others. I have so many tiny treasures from her travels. And because she insisted on capturing photos of legitimately everything, I have memories that will last a lifetime. The photos that I have shared with you today are not even all that I have, but I know better than to share some pictures that Pam wouldn't have approved of. The connection we had here on earth will carry on, and I'm not trying to be tortured until I meet her again. I may have pressed the limits with some of them already. There are so many things that will remind me of Pam, no matter how many years go by. Anything related to New York City, cameras, Cheetos, handwritten letters, flowers, chicken and rice soup, Breaking Benjamin, Dunkin' Donuts, moons and stars, an open sunroof, a beautiful sunset, Brad Pitt, the beach, swimming pools, Capri Suns, fairies, hummingbirds, the color teal, Scooby-Doo, whales, kayaks, miniature things. But you know what won't remind me of my dear friend? Cancer. I will no longer relate the two. Cancer did not define Pam. It did not take her life. It actually did quite the opposite. It set a fire in her, and she lived. Oh, how she lived. When I got the call last week that Pam was headed to the ER, I somehow knew this time was going to be different. The first words that I spoke to her were something along the lines of, "You are not alone, and I won't leave here until you do." Tammy and I joked that Pam would hold on until Halloween. It just seems so Pam. She did just that. Her transition was quite possibly the most peaceful event that I have ever witnessed. I am eternally grateful that her family so openly shared her with me. I love her so much. Pam is in a better place, and I know this because I know she loved the Lord. I can't miss the opportunity to encourage you to seek a relationship with Him in your own life. Pam did not expect her to leave so soon. I know that with all of my heart. We had things planned, next week actually. But God's time is not our own. His plan is perfect, and though we rarely understand it, circumstances can change in an instant. Pam taught us all that no matter how hard life can be, we must learn from it every day and embrace every moment. We simply don't know when it's going to end. I hope that you are ready. Pam would hope that you are ready. Pam had so much love around her, so many friends. This is just a small part of my story. My part was no more important than anyone else's, but I thank God every day that it was my part. I wasn't the friend that spent the night at her house and watched movies all night long, but I know that some of you were. Thank you for that. I wasn't the friend that stayed on the phone with her for hours at a time every single week, but I know that some of you did. Thank you for that. I wasn't the friend that cried and felt sorry for Pam, but I know some of you did, and you played an important role, one that was needed. I wasn't the friend that cleaned her house, but I know that some of you were, and I'm so grateful for you. I wasn't the one that showed up to carry in heavy bags of dog food. I wasn't the one that mowed her lawn or delivered her sweet tea or carried in her mail, but some of you were, and I thank God for you. As I was preparing for the service, looking through boxes of photos, I came across something that Pam had written on the day she received her diagnosis, and I wanted to share a snippet of those words with you. What about the kids in my life? How will they understand this so young? How do I explain it to them? I want to see them grow up, see what they become. I don't want them to know loss this young, not one that will hurt them like this. That was Pam. never asking why me, never concerned about the struggles this diagnosis meant in her own life, but instead focused on how it was going to affect those around her. Just 5 days after her diagnosis, she wrote these words: "A peace has come over me. I choose to fight. I might not know the exact method of battle, but I will fight. For my precious parents, for Sam, Tay, Chuck, Madison, Dylan, Amber, etc. I will fight. I'm okay with dying, although I have no desire to check out yet. I hurt for the impact on these people in my life. There are so many that love me, support me. It has been overwhelming at times, but it's so nice." I can tell you, having been there from the diagnosis through the treatments, all the appointments where we received news that would have devastated most people, there were seldom moments of sadness. There were very, very, very few tears. What I remember most is that there were a lot of smiles. A whole lot of smiles. I think Pam would be proud of the way that we've all come together to support and love each other. Let's keep in touch, keep encouraging each other, and make time to meet up, laugh, and share Pam's stories. Some of us haven't seen each other in years. There's just no reason for that. Let's do better. I want to end by thanking my sweet Pam for having such an impact on my life and making it rich with love, friendship, and the humor that I desperately needed. Pam, you always told me the sky was the limit. You just went to check it out before me. I know God didn't prepare a mansion for you, so I hope you are thoroughly enjoying your New York City-style loft apartment. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see you. I already miss you something fierce. I love you, Pam. To the moon and back.